Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. We have some fantastic racing ahead this weekend, including top-notch action tomorrow at Doncaster and, of course, over in Ireland at Leopardstown. But we also have Channel 4 racing from Chester, so a real mix of racing tomorrow. But we have a lot of Group 1s, a lot of Group 2s, and a lot of Group 3s as well. So we'll be getting our teeth stuck into that. Joining me this week on today's panel is Callum Medell, Chris Bradburn, and Chris Bradburn's lookalike, Michael Andrews. Thanks for turning up, Michael.
That's nice.
No, I was gonna say. You do look a bit like each other, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think so. He's got a much smaller face. I've always got quite a fat face, so I severely doubt it, and I don't think it's much of a compliment.
Yeah, Chris, you and your small face. Adam Webb can't be with us tonight because he is in Doncaster on the pool, I think. Good luck, Adam. He actually had a winning nap last week, though, and there were pigs flying. My nap placed. Callum, should I just void over your nap, or?
I think it's still running in it. I can't remember what I napped last night.
It's always the ones that don't go in. Callum, I can't remember what it was. I have no idea what it was. But first things first, before we get to the previews of the races, we have a Twitter account now. On the Other Hoof is on Twitter. Simply at On the Other Hoof. You can go follow us on there, and from now on, we will be reading out the questions from that account. So if early on in the day you tweeted any one of us, so example myself at LukeElder13, I won't be able to read that out on here because we'll be looking at the On the Other Hoof Twitter account. So once again, at On the Other Hoof, tweet all your questions and fancies there, and we will read it out. We just think it's a neater place for this show to go forward with. But yeah, if you haven't followed us on there, do that, and we'll get stuck into the racing now, starting with the 205 at Doncaster. The at-the-races Champagne Stakes, which is Group 2 of the 7 furlongs, won last year by Outstrip, who went on to win at the Breeders' Cup. Not sure if I can see any of these guys winning at the Breeders' Cup, but Estidcar is a very short-priced favourite. But Callum, you don't agree with that, do you?
No, I do agree he should be favourite. I think his horse has been a little bit forgotten, to be honest, and I was saying this just before we came on air, but he won really well at the July meeting, and I mean really well, and beat a good horse in Bante, who's won at Group 3 level since, probably not the strongest of Group 3s, but still it's a highly commendable performance from Eshtikar, who absolutely bolted up and only has a £3 penalty for it. It's just with a horse like Bellardo, again, is one I really rate. Probably can knock that form quite comfortably last time at Newbury, considering Hawkesbury I think was lame. So it's not the strongest of form at face value, but visually it was impressive. It's hopefully he can settle tomorrow, and I think he will appreciate the ground a lot more than he did at Newbury. So I think this is potentially quite decent little match, and I wouldn't rule out a horse like Room Key either, actually, who's an improving type. But I'll go for Bellardo just because he's got £3 from Eshtikar, but it's a good little race, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it does seem to be between the top two that are heading the market. Chris, you're very keen on Estidcar, however, aren't you?
Yeah, very keen. Really impressed last two times out, sorry. And on official ratings, Bellardo have to find £4. I think Estidcar is just going to improve a lot. Held in high regard at home with Racing Post Trophy entry and 2,000 guineas entry. And I'll be very surprised if he loses tomorrow. I'm really keen on this horse. Him and Faden, or Fadan, are two of my sort of ones to watch for next year. So yeah, definitely Estidcar for me in this race.
I think a lot of people are taking Fadan onto next year. Estidcar, half brother to Tormore, which probably this year hasn't really ranked that much, but Estidcar looks one that's been progressing lightly this season. On debut, was completely clueless, had no real idea what to do, but impressed me the last twice, especially last time out at Newmarket. I think he beat Activante that day, if I'm not mistaken, but it's his running style that sort of puts a few questions into my head. I always have a front runner that doesn't really have another kick late on in the race, sort of a bit vulnerable. He does one pace to keep going, and he grinds his opponents into the ground. If Bellardo can track him and just sit behind the slipstream and then pounce at the right time, then Andrea Atzeni could be quite cunning aboard Bellardo. But I don't know, I'm not 100% sure which way to turn. I think Estidcar leaders seem to be going okay at Doncaster this week, so I'm going to stick tentatively with Estidcar, but it's by no means a betting race for me, and I'm sure Michael Andrews is going to say the same, that he won't be having a bet on this race tomorrow.
No, I honestly think Eshtikar is the horse to beat, and I think 11-8 probably, in fairness, is probably about the right price. I think like Tormore is quite a forward 2-year-old and probably should take this, and I was really impressed last time at Newmarket, considering Actabanti's obviously gone on front with form since. Cock of the North was not too far behind there either, and Eshtikar pretty much got rid of both of those with some ease, beating them by over 4 lengths. I can understand the Bollardo angle, and I must admit, for some crazy reason, I have a feeling that War Envoy might run a bit better than normal, with Ryan Moore aboard, also over a slightly extended trip, the 7 furlongs now, the Dam one over 8 furlongs, so I think Step Up and Trip could be to that one's benefit. And I also like to draw your attention to the Dam of Aces.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew.
in a Naughty Lucky 15 later, because I can't believe I actually got to type that in to the Racing Post website to try and find out about that horse. So we'll come back to that later. But yeah, Eshtikar I think could win, and War Envoy I think could be slightly overpriced, but I wouldn't be getting involved.
I knew you were going to bring everyone's attention to that. I just knew it. We're now going to take our first trip of the afternoon to Chester for the Betfair home of the Price Rush Handicap. Of course, it's home of the Price Rush. 7 furlongs, 122 yards is the trip here. It's a competitive race for sure. I'm not really sure which way I'm swaying towards. There's a couple that I'd have in with a chance, but Chris, would you have any strong fancy in the race?
Yeah, I actually have a really strong fancy in this race, which isn't like me, to have a really strong fancy in a big run handicap. But I actually really like Storm King. Front running ride at Beverley latest when he won. £1 lower than his career winning mark at Doncaster. Low draw installed too, and I just think that he can sort of burst out and sort of get a lead quite easily from the front. The two either side of him are hold-up horses, so he shouldn't have a problem getting the lead off them too. And I just think 8-1 is a really good each way shout. So I'm actually really keen on Storm King in this one.
Yeah, that's a sound sort of theory to go by. Michael, your fancy for the first Chester that we're going to be covering?
Yeah, it's odd for me because I really struggle with this race. It's normally a handicap, which obviously I revel in, but I think the favourite Top of the Glass, I'm really impressed. Didn't get the rub of the green over this course and distance. I think it was last time. Yeah, I think it was course and distance when he won last time out, and did charge home in the end to get on top from an unfavourable draw. Again, has an unfavourable draw today. Joe Doyle, I thought, planned that race really well last time, and should run well again. 4-1 is probably a fair price. And the only one that's just popped into my head, just looking down, one that could be potentially very well handicapped and gets a very nice draw, is Norse Blues, who is very much capable at a higher level. So this is, if he's at his best again, this should be easy pickings for him. So that would be a bit of a worry for Top of the Glass. He's about 16-1, so that's quite a nice each way price.
Yeah, I'm gonna very tentatively side with Mezzo Tint, who last time out ran a really nice race behind Ocean Tempest, and obviously that seems to be a much stronger race than this is today. Ocean Tempest has since franked the form by running well at Haydock, was it? Yeah, Haydock. Behind Captain Cat, but if Mezzo Tint can carry that form forward, he's sort of been scratching for a little bit, but that was a big step back in the right direction. If back again round Chester can sort of relight him even further, then he could go close. The draw of 6 isn't the worst thing that could happen. It could be obviously a lot better, but I'd give Mezzo Tint a shout. But again, it's not a race that I'll be getting involved in. Later on, there will be races I'll be getting involved in, however, so stay tuned for that. Callum Adele, your selection from Chester.
I agree with you, Mezzo Tint, actually. Really good run 2 weeks ago behind Ocean Tempest, like you mentioned, and he's always a horse that's been better on faster ground, and it was good to soft ground that day. It's drying out here for tomorrow. Back over course and distance, I think he can run really well. He's £4 lower than his winning mark. He won virtually a year ago, actually, at Leicester off 91. It's off 87 tomorrow. I'll be interested if there's any money for him. Then he's a definite fancy tomorrow, because they are quite notorious in landing a bit of a gamble. There's not many horses I don't think are particularly well handicapped. I thought Accession had another win in him, but I was a bit worried about the draw and the drying ground. But there's not too many I think of really moving up in the handicapper, and a more exposed type like Mezzo Tint could take advantage.
Yeah, no, well, it's not nice when Callum Portland handicap of 5 furlongs, 140 yards. It's a wide open sprint, but I know myself personally, I'm finding it very hard to look away from the favourite here. But I'm sure Michael has found a bit of value.
Has he? Oh, right, okay. Let me just
you
see
should
if
try it.
Yeah,
It's usually a
I must admit, I've pretty much come up with you with those two look to be the class horses in the race, Muthmere Intrinsic. I think they've been very much selected as group company next year. Intrinsic was disappointing last time, and I can see why the market is as it is, because Muthmere was really impressive and didn't bounce out very well at Goodwood, and all week, if you didn't bounce out well, if you weren't, there or thereabouts, he was also on an unfavourable side. He had to overcome quite a lot that day. So I can understand why the price is as it is. Intrinsic was obviously beat by Tropics last time, a bit disappointing there. So it's really, I can't beat. There's not really much out of those two. There's nothing really in the field that comes across as progressive, or even of those, the standard that those two could get to. Only one that has popped up perhaps as an each-way price is Addictive Dream, who has ran respectably this year. Obviously, won on the all-weather on the 1st of March, and then has been placed respectively. So I think he could pop up at some point and possibly squeak a place, but it's difficult to look past those two. So yeah, I probably would. I don't know what I'd bet. I'd probably go for an each way on Addictive Dream, and I think I would just about side with Muthmere. I think Haggis really, really likes this horse.
Yeah, I think it's no secret that Muthmere is very, very well regarded. It really, really impressed me at York. Obviously, travelled so well through the race, but then matched it with a turn of foot, which is a really potent combination. Wandered a little bit in front, which put me off slightly, but I think came on for the run at Goodwood, which came a bit too early in the Stewards Cup, when of course was behind Intrinsic. Now, I was really, really keen on Intrinsic in that particular race, but I've jumped ship and gone over to Muthmere because I can't see anything really beating Muthmere on more of a conventional track. He'll have a much easier time. There'll be no sort of chances to run around. And also, it's worth noting at Goodwood that he got no cover at all, and he was just lit up really through it, but ran a huge race to come fifth. £8 higher, it's not going to be an easy task tomorrow, but if he's the horse that we all think he can be, he really should be taking this, and it's a short enough price, around 5-1, but I'd be willing to find out at that kind of price. As for ones at a bigger price, Algar Lad was impressed me at Ascot last week. Stayed on really nicely and toppled Marmalady, which is unfortunate for me because that was one of my blog suggestions. But Algar Lad, if he keeps coming forward, then he could really take another big step in the right direction for Dave O'Meara, who of course won his first Group 1 last week. And just one more to mention, Humidor, who of course won the infamous Void race at Epsom the other week, and has actually gone down £1 for that. But Humidor's been sort of threatening to run into the placings and back into the winners' enclosure. So it wouldn't surprise me if at 20-1 Humidor could run a big race. But I really can't see anything beating Muthmere tomorrow, and it does look to be between Muthmere and Intrinsic. Callum, I'm guessing I've just stolen all your points there.
Yeah, do you know what? You've actually stolen both horses I'm going to put up. And I was talking to Rory Giovanni on Twitter just now, and we both fancy the same ones. Muthmere, I really can't see past, to be honest, as I know he's favourite, but I think this trip is going to be absolutely ideal for him. He's got such a high cruising speed, and the ground's drying out for him, and I just think he's a group horse in a handicap. I know that term is quite loosely used, but he really is a group horse in a handicap, and I think he'll take all the beating tomorrow. But Humidor's the one I really like each way, who won that Void race 3 weeks ago nearly at Epsom on soft ground. Before that was fifth behind GoFi, who reopposes, has won since in a Doncaster race. But Humidor had to make his challenge on his own that day, whereas the rest of them were on the other side of the track. So I think he can be upgraded a little bit for it. And the way he won at Epsom the other week was really impressive. And considering he's off the same mark, I think 20-1 over a trip that I think will really suit him, just that extended 5 furlongs, because he no doubt stays 6 as well. And versatile regarding ground, he's one I really like as well. I could give 10, 12 a chance in this because it's a really, really strong race. But Muthmere stands out head and shoulders above me, and Humidor's well worth in each way.
Yeah. Chris, is it going to be a clean sweep for Muthmere?
Yeah, definitely. He sort of I was debating between Muthmere and Intrinsic. Went with Muthmere, and also the one that I liked at a bigger price was Humidor. So basically, what you guys have said really, there's not really anything I can add. So
we have royally thrown you under the bus then, basically, is what you're saying.
Sorry, Chris.
Sorry about that. I'm not really sorry, but sorry about that.
To be fair, you held yourself quite well, as normally I throw a tantrum if that happens to me.
Yeah, Michael would sit there with his king bitch face on. Oh dear. Sorry, Chris. Going back to Chester now. We'll let you go first on this one so we don't steal it. The Feel the Rush at Betfair Stand Cup, which is a listed race for mile 4 and 66 yards. Poor turnout with £23,500 going to the winner. 8 runners take their chance, and your idea of the winner would be, Chris?
A horse that I can't say its name, so I'm going to go with the Brazilian Raider.
Fribby.
The Brazilian horse is the one that I'm fancying this one. I just think that it's got a similar profile to the Fox Brazilian horse. I don't know, is it Energia Fox?
They're all Energias, I think, aren't they?
Yeah,
Energy Fox.
There's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So there was the Energia Fox one which came over a few weeks ago and won a fairly decent race. So I just think that Energia Fribby will have the same sort of profile as that one, and then can sort of improve from her form in Brazil. She was third last time between Snocchi and Star and Pinzolo, and they both reoppose here, but I just think that she will have more class than these two. And Pinzolo carries a penalty for his listed win, so I think that puts me off him. So yeah, definitely Energia Fribby would be the one for me at the prices.
Energia Free, definitely my favourite Energia so far. Fribby's a fantastic addition to that. It's not Brazilian whatsoever. Energia Fribby. It's just it sounds like a Yorkshire term. The exoticness of Energia Fribby. That wasn't a Yorkshire accent, by the way. Michael, your fantasy for is it Energia Fribby?
I haven't really decided with this race. Unlike last year, when I think I had one of my most confident selections in what is an amazing beast of a horse in Tac de Boistron, who won this at a ridiculous 11-2 on heavy ground, which he absolutely adores. So I think that last year was a lot easier than it is this year. Pinzolo obviously sets the standard apparently after his second to Glorious Protector last time out, and Energia Fribby though comes from the same yard as last year's winner Tac de Boistron. That was his first start in the UK, and this is Energia Fribby's first start in the UK, so it's got very similar, for a different reason from what Chris was saying, got a very similar profile to last year's winner, so I can completely understand that angle. A horse that I think possibly, if Energia Fribby and Pinzolo are a bit overrated, that could go well is Fat Sota at the top. Doesn't have to give Pinzolo too much weight in fairness, so it's not really a race to get involved in. I think Energia Fribby should do it if Marco Botti is targeting this as he did last year, but I'm not convinced, and I don't think I would be having a bet.
No, is it my internet that keeps cutting out or Michael's?
I heard Michael fine.
Yeah, I heard Michael fine as well.
Oh, good, it's me then. Sorry, it's not a bad thing I didn't have to listen to Michael for about 10 minutes going about a race he doesn't care about, but whatever. Snocchi and Star is one I'm going to go with hesitantly. I just think that the course will suit him a lot more than Pinzolo would. Energia Fribby, again, we don't know a great deal about her, but if she is anything like Tac de Boistron last year, then it's just a matter of how far. But it's not really a race that I will be getting involved in again. I'm saying that way too much on this week. So Gabriel, they're finally getting the hint that he doesn't stay. They're slowly bringing him down a bit more in trip, but it's not a race that I could really get that excited about. It's more of a watching brief for me. But if you were to force me to have a pound on something, it would be Snocchi and Star. But it's not a race to get involved in by any stretch of imagination for me. Callum, do you have a fancy in her?
No. It's a dreadful race, I think, to be honest. I look at the race and really, you just look at the race and you think, well, obviously one of them has to win, but I don't know which one. I just can't see any of them winning. I think Pinzolo is probably just going to be a little bit too good for him, but again, I mean, Sanoki and Star over at Chester, I think will suit him a lot more, like you said. But I just don't think he really sees that 12 furlongs good, well enough, unless he gets a really easy lead tomorrow and it's really not a stamina test for him. Energy Fribby, suspect needs to run and have other targets for her, but Pinzolo, who has just really found his level and probably will win this, but it's just a race not to have a bet in at all.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on that. And we'll quickly move on in that case to the 3:15 at Doncaster, which is the OLBG Park Stakes, a Group 2 over 7 furlongs. And a much better race, I think it has to be said for this. Aljamaheer going back from sprinting trips up to 7 furlongs, which is a unique distance, and taking on the likes of Gregorian, who's made this distance sort of his own really in the past season and season or 2 seasons. Callum, would you give Aljamaheer much of a chance going back off sprinting trips?
I give him a quite obvious chance. I mean, he tries cheap pieces tomorrow instead of the blinkers. This is the trip he kind of really formed himself at. I know he's got some good form at 6 and good form at a mile, but probably the intermediate distance is probably his best. And the one thing I worry a little bit about tomorrow is because he's been sprinting all year, he may just struggle to settle a little bit. But if he didn't, then that would be a worry. And it's a decent little race, actually. The couple that I'm quite interested in, firstly, Angsar, the Irish horse, who is in really good form at the moment, really needs good ground, so that's an absolute necessity, and gets it tomorrow. So you can excuse that 7th in between the 2 pair of firsts that he's had in between those. Again, the form probably isn't the strongest. Beating Darwin's not too bad. Beating Matila, probably less so. But again, it's 6-year-old, but improving a little bit, and if getting an easy lead, I think he can run well. And I'd give a little go to Cable Bay as well, who really needed his first run back, but ran with a little bit of promise and could surprise a few if he's ready. But I think Angsar could do it tomorrow. I think it's a good little race, and Angsar could be the one.
That's not. You've stolen my main point about Aljamaheer with him not settling. You've also stolen my selection. yeah. I was thinking exactly so. They've been trying to get him to sort of go from the word go. Now they're going to have to get him to settle again. Right? And you've also stolen Cable Bay, which was my selection for the race. So I'll let Michael talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, because I'm going to get a face full of tits. Because I'm going to the St. Ledger meeting tomorrow, so that'll be fun. This is a real big step up in class, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it. But at least he's got Ryan Moore boys. He'll get there'll be no excuse there. I think he should run well. I think 7 furlongs is his trip, in fact. Obviously he broke his maiden tag over this course and distance on his debut, so I think this really suits him. And if he does get an easy lead, but I really doubt it, considering you've got SK Love in there and a few others. I must admit I'm surprised on the price disparity between Aljamaheer and Gregorian, considering Gregorian beat. Have I got Gregorian beating Aljamaheer at some point this year? Perhaps not, or at least
in the July Cup, maybe.
In July Cup, they're ahead of it.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one. And also, I think 7 furlongs is definitely Gregorian's trip, so I expect him to. I'm really surprised that there's 7-4, 9-2. Those are the best prices. Really, perhaps 15-8 for Aljamaheer. I think Gregorian, on what ground looks to be, on the softer side of good. I think Gregorian's quite a nice price actually at 9-2. And obviously, I'd want to talk about That Is the Spirit. I can't believe SK Love has got to give £4 to. These kind of horses. No offence to SK Love, but he's not that good, and perhaps he was flattered by the Goodwood win. So yeah, I think Gregorian's the horse for tomorrow. I'm really surprised he's such a nice price actually. So yeah, Gregorian would be quite a confident selection, but I quite like Tits to run well.
Got it. I completely agree with what Michael's saying about Gregorian. Actually, the price is far too big compared to Aljamaheer. If Aljamaheer's sort of 13-8, how is Gregorian a 9-2 shot? Especially over this distance, the ground's not a worry for him. But I don't know, he threw in that shocker at Deauville, then ran, 6 days later. He's had a bit of a break now, which I suppose would be on his side. But he comes off a really nice effort in the Hungersville. I'm just a little tentative about Gregorian tomorrow. You're right there, Callum.
Yeah, I'm fine, just coughing.
Just down a little bit. Cable, I'm going to give a small vote to Cable Bay, who last time out, as Callum said, really needed the run, but was done no favours by almost being taken out, turning home. I think that's by Mashir. I'm not 100% sure if my memory serves me right there, but really got hampered quite badly turning home, lost a significant amount of lengths, and from then on was always facing an uphill battle. Spencer got a lot of stick for the ride, which there was nothing wrong with it at all. It's a horse going back from a long layoff. He got hampered turning for home. He brought him home in his own time and just sort of gave him a nice sort of reintroduction back into racing. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Frankly, takes over the ride today. There's a bit of money for Cable Bay, so I think Charlie might be expecting a big performance and a much better performance, obviously, than last time. But as Callum said, if he's ready to do himself justice, then he should be going close in this kind of race on his 2-year-old form anyway. He was competing in the likes of the Dewhurst, chasing home War Command in Group 1. But yeah, Cable Bay sort of, I see 7-8 to 1. It was about 14s earlier on that I think I saw much bigger prices anyway. But Chris, your fancy for the Park Stakes?
It's Gregorian, and you just sort of stole my limelight again without even tipping the Gregorian. Basically, the reason why I've gone for Gregorian is because I think his last start came way too quickly after his disappointing run in France, so I can give him for that. And I think that the best form in the race is generally his third behind Slade Power, and I think that stepping back up in trip, ground's no problem, and I just think that Al Jumair won't settle tomorrow because, like you say, they've been trying to get him to go dead quickly, sort of right from the word go, and now he's got to settle. And I just think that Gregorian's sort of a class above the rest in the race at the weights as well, and I think that 9 to 2 is a really, really good price, and it's definitely one I'll be having a bet on.
Yeah, I can't put you on Gregorian. Now, the next race, I'm not sure how we're going to go about this, because we're all going to be dying to talk about one horse and one horse only, I think. But I'm not sure how we're going to sort of rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. Or this could be another Anacotti-style moment from Feltham in December where we all went for one of the rank outsiders and it came off. Who's going to talk first about the machine?
A bit awkward, isn't it?
Anyone?
Go on.
Fine, I'll take it. If Adam was here, I'd have given him the limelight, but Adam's away swanning on with a couple of lovely guys. But apparently he just tweeted us as well. They're not shutting up about Kingston Hill. But there's another king in the race, and that's King's Fate that I've been really excited to see for quite a long time in this race. However, he comes with a health warning that he doesn't settle at all. He settled nicely at Goodwood the first time around in a Hood, but he was given way too much to do by James Doyle that day and failed to catch Double Bluff, who's a very good handicapper in his own right, and got the run of the race that day. He then, last time out, didn't settle at all over a mile 6, but still stayed on quite nicely behind Forever Now and Alex My Boy. I've got a slight reservations as to whether Goodwood's actually his track, so in a race where they're going to go very, very hard up front early on, which may help him settle, and he's got Ryan Moore on board. No disrespect to James Doyle, obviously he's a fantastic jockey, but if there's a guy that's going to be able to settle King's Fate and get him home, it is Ryan Moore. They're going to go really hard up front early on. It could help him settle. I've got no reservations about his stamina whatsoever, but if he settles, I really cannot see anything beating him tomorrow, and it's quite a bold statement to make, but I really do think that he's the best horse in the race, just not yet in this moment in time. I think he's got to get past Kingston Hill, obviously, but if King's Fate settles, I think he wins, and that's all I'm going to say. His stablemate Snow Sky, I don't think will stay at all, and James Doyle obviously preferred Snow Sky to him, so it's a bit of a sort of tougher one for me. I think it was exaggerated hold-up tactics over 2 furlongs less last time out, and he just about sort of got it at Goodwood. I don't think he really stayed, and Winshire almost went past him. So the biggest danger, I say Romsdale, but I think I've gone on for too long about this on one horse on King's Fate. Michael, you've come over to the dark side with King's Fate, haven't you, in recent weeks?
Well, I was there at when he actually was second behind Double Bluff at Goodwood, and I could just say he was just given far too much to do. He's clearly the best horse in the race, but he was very babyish, and he was never really given a hard time. And I watched his race, the race behind the handicapper Forever Now, who also runs today. He was once again just not given a hard time whatsoever. So I think they really have saved him for this race. I think he's got a really there's been really good vibe which one to choose, but he's obviously gone with the very consistent Snow Sky. But I think King's Fate, obviously Ryan Moore is definitely not a negative, and I think he's got a really, really good chance. I had a bit of an anti-post bet on him, but this is not a very good race for the Ledger. It's very, very disappointing in fact, and that's what leaves Kingston Hill as such an obvious favourite. There's been a load of rubbish going on recently with Roger Varian. It came out as though he was saying if they didn't water the ground, he wouldn't let his horse run as a bit of a threat. But I think he's trying to iron over that appearance now, and I think Kingston Hill will run, and I think he'll run well. There's not really a huge amount. There's a bit of drosh in this race, in fairness, unfortunately. It's not really a Group 1. I'm obviously a big fan of Winship, but it's been very, very annoying considering if you look at his form, should have won at least more than once in the last 6 times, but he's been second 5 of his last 6, which is really, really frustrating. A horse I do like is Hartnell, and I know Adam has been taking the Bahrain Trophy form to a lot of success with Von der Force, who won at York meeting, and also the course who won earlier in this week. Trevor now obviously won at Goodwood, and Hartnell disappointed last time out, but I think you can forgive that run. I think this is his right trip. I don't think he really got home at Royal Ascot when he was in the 2-mile race, the Queen's something. What's the Queen's race? The Queen's Vase, that's the one. When he was obviously in the stewards' room with Sentry, but that was not Joe Fanning's fault. And I think Hartnell's got a really, really good chance. I think he's actually got a bit of class for a 1-mile 6 horse. So those would be my 2, King's Fate and Hartnell. I'm not really convinced about the others. I think the pace angles you've got should be up there.
My one worry about Hartnell is that Mark Johnston's horses are in such good form sort of earlier on in the year, and they seem to have gone off the boil now. As Chris said, was it 5 horses in his last 30 have won, but all of them were favourites, and 2 of them were odds-on shots that were expected to win. Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about the distance for Hartnell. I think he really does need a stamina test, if I'm honest. But I can see why you sort of fancy him and give him a chance. But I don't know. There's a few too many questions I think about Hartnell, as there are about everything in the field really. Callum, you're with King's Fate as well.
Yeah. I think everything's been said about King's Fate, but bar the pace angle, which I know Michael just touched on, but there seems to be a lot of pace on here for me. The Johnson trio, I think, will be prominent. Grand Duke of Tuscany, Marzocco, Odeon horses, apart from Odeon, but the other 2 want further and will have their stamina try to get their stamina into play, really. Whereas horses like Snow Sky, I can't have staying, and Kingston Hill, if it comes a real slog, I think he'll struggle. I just don't really think he wants this sort of trip. I think he's a much classier horse than that, and the drying ground, I think he'll be okay. I think he goes fine on good, decent ground. It's so overplayed, this good to firm. Oh, we won't run on good to firm ground. It's just if it's really fast. It was fast enough at Sandown, and he ran a good race. It was really fast at Newmarket, and he still ran a decent race. And it was fast at Epsom. So if it's good to firm ground, then I think they should still take the chance and run him. But I'm still against him, to be honest, in a race I think will be really strongly run, and I'm just not sure he's going to get home fully over the trip. And so I think you've got to look elsewhere. And King's Fate, if he settles over a strong gallop with Ryan Moore on board, has the potential to improve £10 plus, and I think that could be good enough to win the race. Bar that, I think Scotland could outrun his odds. I think you can excuse his last run a little bit. I think he's a bit better than the 2 1/4 length defeat to Snow Sky on a track that's not that conventional. His run before that behind Eagle Top was a really good run, and a more galloping track could see a better performance and the extra step up and trip. So if you want a real outsider, I think Scotland's the one to be on. But bar that, I think it's a really desperately poor race for a Ledger. So King's Fate's definite fancy for me. I think he has the potential to be very, very good, and the rest of them are just pretty slow. And Scotland, I think, will outrun his odds at 20 to 1.
Yeah, no, I couldn't put you off for that. Chris, you're with, surprisingly, King's Fate.
Yeah, I was really, really happy when I found out Ryan Moore was on board. No disrespect to James Doyle at all, but Ryan Moore's just a class apart from everything else. And I was planning on waiting until just before the race to see if he was really coltish before, and then if he was, I wasn't going to have a bet. But that seems to have gone now because price-wise I've selected him. So the price will just completely go before tomorrow. So I've actually not had a bet yet. I might stick some money on King's Fate after we go off air, but yeah, King's Fate for me. And I can't really have anything else. There's doubts about everything in the race. And even though I've got my doubts about King's Fate, it's probably the one with the least amount of doubts compared to everything else. And you've sort of been over everything. I can't really sort of just echo what you guys say, really.
Yeah. It's a race. For some reason, it doesn't. For a classic, it doesn't take much talking about. I'm sure everyone on Twitter will have different kinds of views, though. That's all the racing on Channel 4 that we're going to be covering tomorrow. We're going to have a very quick look at the Leopardstown racing in the evening, and we'll start with a very quick look at the John Deere Juvenile Turf Stakes, a Group 3 over a mile. And the exciting horse for next year, John F. Kennedy, runs here, and it wasn't taking on debut. I can see Callum's face going there. It wasn't taking on debut in any stretch of the imagination. It didn't look a horse that had sort of any real potential to go forward, but the sort of rumours from the gallops that he was a really, really good horse. And he showed that second time out. It was a very, very taking performance, but he'll have to probably improve again to win this ahead of a stablemate, East India, who was once actually favourite for the Derby next year, I think. But surely it's John F. Kennedy's to lose, isn't it, Callum?
Yeah, a very impressive second time out. Again, he's beaten very little, I think, so we'll know a little bit more tomorrow, but the horse does look very good, and you've obviously got to respect an Aidan O'Brien horse with such a reputation, and the fact that it's got a really cool name.
He does have a pretty wicked name, I'm not going to lie. It's the kind of name that they reserve for the best ones. Michael and Chris, any sort of views on John F. Kennedy, whether to back against him or put him in a multiple?
Yeah, I think he's a ridiculous price, mainly because of his name. I know a lot of Americans have been waiting for Aidan O'Brien to call a horse something like that, and it's just, I wasn't actually that impressed when he won last time out. I thought, he needs to win this impressively, otherwise he's literally naff. And I think that opens up Tom Boleyn, who's clearly got the much better form, was only beaten 3/4 of a length by Glen Eagles in a Group 3 last time out. And that one is 6-1. John F. Kennedy is 2-1 on. So if you actually want to have a bet, I think Tom Boleyn is definitely the one to be on. But unfortunately, John F. Kennedy seems to have scared away most of the opposition, if there is any opposition in Ireland. So there's nothing else really in the race. But yeah, I think Tom Boleyn is if you want to have a bet, it would be on that one.
Chris, anything you can add to that about John F. Kennedy?
Not really about John F. Kennedy. I do like East India each way. I think 12-1, even bigger than that now, around about 15s now. It's huge, and like you say, John F. Kennedy really needed to win that race really impressively, and I really like John F. Kennedy for the Derby, but I think that this might come a bit too quick for him, really. And East India at sort of 15s, I think, is huge. He was once, like you say, favourite for the Derby next year, and there's been rumours going around that people think he might be the next Australia at sort of 10 furlongs. So I think that sort of 15s is sort of a huge price for potentially the next Australia. So I wouldn't put you off having an each way bet. But yeah, sort of East India each way, and then John F. Kennedy should really take this. But I might go for a reverse forecast on East India and John F. Kennedy.
It's a brave game you're playing there, young Chris, trying to find the next Australia. Many of them come out of Ballydoyle. Many of them don't make it to Australia. Moving on to the next race, the KPMG Enterprise Stakes, a Group 3 over a mile 2. This one's a completely different race. We've got Free Eagle that's returning from a long layoff, 371 days, but he was once fancied to beat Australia, and did beat Australia, actually, didn't he?
Second to Australia, wasn't he?
Second to Australia, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, he was 2-5 though that day, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was odds-on favourite against Australia, and Australia spat him up, chewed him out. But we haven't seen him since that day, which suggests that there were problems there. However, a long break and a race of this standard, a Group 3, he's odds-on, even money. That's surely not a betting proposition, is it, Michael?
No, I don't think you can. I think this is a race really to watch. There's not a huge amount in behind him really that really takes your fancy. Possibly Brendan Bracken, but that's custom cut form. So that is that's about Group 3 standard. Perhaps Group 2 race. So Free Eagle has got to get up to that on his third start as a 3-year-old, and I think it's quite a big ask. They're not outstanding performers in this race, but they're horses that can get up to Group 3, perhaps Group 2 level, and that's quite a big ask for us to ask for a horse who's been off the track for. I think it was this meeting that he ran it last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah, well, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Callum,
He was
Chris.
the horse that finished second in the this year's John F. Kennedy race behind Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. Callum and Chris, any view on Free Eagle coming back?
I'd like to see him win.
Yeah, I saw that.
Go on, Chris, sorry.
I saw that. It's not really a betting proposition just because of the layoff, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Free Eagle won, but then again I wouldn't be surprised if Free Eagle lost, so I wouldn't recommend having a bet. Sit back and watch the race really. Yeah, that's sort of my view on that race really.
I love doing that to you guys, like saying two names at once and going, what do you guys think of this race? And then you both go at once or you both don't go at all. It's absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
It's fantastic to watch from my point of view, I'm just saying. The confusion is sort of like holding a door open. No, you go first. No, you go first. You go first. No, it's fine. You go first. That's how I get my kisser on the other hoof. One of my races of the night tomorrow is the 5:45, the Coolmore Parsonette Rock Matron Stakes, the fillies Group 1 over a mile. Tapestry's been brought back to a mile, which for me I wouldn't think it's her trip. Is there any reason to think otherwise, Callum?
No, I agree with you. I mean, she has acquitted herself over shorter, especially last year when she had performed with Rosina and Kayoshi, and they all seem to be running on time. Rosina's actually 3-0 up in their battle. So, Rosina, do you think she should be favourite tomorrow, in considering that she has the better form over the pair at this trip? Then again, Tapestry just looks a really smart filly last time out and really coming into herself. And to beat a horse like Tagruda, probably not on her finest form, but it was still a highly commendable performance. And you probably expect her to win tomorrow. But I wouldn't say she'll win by far at all. I think it's between the two. Fisolana doesn't stay a mile well enough for me. Ken Hope, the French filly, isn't of their standard as of yet, and Perrolong's really disappointed me of late after showing some real promise early in the season. So it's between Rosina and Tapestry. I think Tapestry probably wins, but Rosina probably just about the better bet of the two at the prices.
God, Luke, you've got a massive lag.
Yeah. I thought everyone had disappeared for a second. I was like, oh no.
I can't even hear Luke anymore.
He's not there, I don't think.
Right, so I'll take the show from now on. Chris, what do you want to say about the Matron Stakes?
I actually really like Rosina. I think that Ryan Moore seems to have made the effort to go over and raid the Grey Gatsby, but I think that this is really a really decent sort of ride that he's managed to pick up on Rosina. And like you say, beating Tapestry on 3 out of 3 starts so far, and I really think that it should be the other way around. Tapestry won over a mile 4, and Rosina sort of seems to be a mile horse. So I definitely want to take Rosina at 5-2. Definitely worth a bet for me. Yeah, that's sort of all I've got to say really on that race.
Yeah, I think Rosina at the price you probably want to be taking. I still think Rosina is fully capable over shorter trips, and I think stretching her out to a mile is a bit unfair. I think she would have a lot more wins to her name if she stuck around the 7 furlong mark, but I suppose the competition isn't really there in comparison to the mile discipline. I do like Ken Hope, obviously won in France first and then in Germany, absolutely thrashed some okay horses in Germany recently, but would need to step up to get on Tapestry and Rosina's level. So yeah, it should be between those two. Looking for third position could be interesting actually. So perhaps Ken Hope could fill that position, but she's only 10-1, whereas there's some nicer prices on the others. But apart from Tapestry and Rosina, the rest really need to want to be better.
Sorry guys, I thought I'd just leave for a little bit.
Luke, you back?
Yeah, I thought I'd just leave for a bit and let you guys go at it. Just wanted to get a cup of tea. That's not the reason. Internet's rubbish, but that's other than that, it's fine. I assume we've all said something along the lines of it's between Rosina and Tapestry.
Yeah.
Rosina probably wins, although I heard went for Tapestry.
No, I went for Rosina. Just about on the process.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm with Rosina as well. Has Chris spoken about the race yet? Or have I just completely interrupted him again?
Yeah, I have done.
I think your
I didn't quite
internet's
completely hear that, but I'm just going to. Yeah, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. The Clipper Boomerang Mile of a Group 2 obviously ran over a mile. Gordon Lord Byron is one of Michael's favourite horses ever. So, Michael, Gordon Lord Byron tomorrow?
Yeah, not over a mile. I'm really surprised he's got to carry top weight over a mile. I think this is really stretching him. I prefer him over 6 or 7 furlongs. He obviously broke my heart last time when he seemed to get a bit intimidated by G-Force a week ago in the Sprint Cup. This is turning him out very quickly over a mile, which really stretches him, and I think he's probably just going to come up short. I expect him to fill the places, but I think it'll be tough asking him to actually win this, and I think Mustard Jeep is probably going to be the selection for everybody else, considering Gordon Byron also has to give him £8. So yeah, it'll be Mustard Jeep carrying the 9 stone 3 in comparison to what is one of my long-time favourite horses.
Yeah, I think you're heartbroken in the Sprint Cup, weren't you?
Really heartbroken. It took me. I needed Tom Hogan's post-race interview, which was quite cheerful, to actually cheer me up afterwards.
Well, that was fine. I backed G-Force. And Mr. G would be my idea of the win as well. His form has been fantastic this year, winning at Royal Ascot as well, thrown in to the mix. Gets a lot of weight from the others. I think he's one of the better 3-year-olds around this year, and he's proven that. The prices, I'd definitely be with Mr. G. Callum, I imagine with you it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I couldn't see past Mustard G, to be honest, who obviously say gets majority of weight from his main rivals and just looks a class above them either way. He's third in the Irish Guineas, I think it was, on very soft ground. He's better on fast ground. He showed that when he won the Jersey in really good style. I expect him to be ready for this. It's a really valuable prize for a Group 2, and I think that's the reason why Gordon Lord Byron runs here when he could easily have run at Doncaster tomorrow, albeit under a penalty, but 7 furlongs is probably more his trip than a mile. No, he's won over course and distance, but he is better at 6-7 furlongs. So Darwin, his form is third behind Kingman. I think you have to take with a pinch of salt, to be honest. It was a strange run, probably flattered by the distance he was beaten. But Mustard Jeep should win that comfortably. I can't see anything challenging him if he's up to form.
Yeah, Chris, is it a clean sweep for Mr. Jeep as well here?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, is that it? Okay, I was expecting. That's a Michael. That's a Michael. So no, not really. Don't like that one. The main race in the Champion Stakes, Group 1 over Mile 2. Is this just a case of Australia turning up and winning, Callum?
Yeah, it is. 10 furlongs, I think, is his ideal trip, and there was talks that he wasn't fully fit for the Jugemont, but he still won pretty comfortably. I think he's a very good horse. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a superstar, and I don't think if he wins tomorrow, he should be classed as a superstar. But he's an extremely good horse. I think it'll be his last run as well. I think he'll be shipped off the stud after this. So hopefully. It'd be nice to see him win comfortably, but I mean he's not beating anything that he didn't really beat at York, is he? Unless Mukadram settles better and runs a better race, he should have plenty in hand.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there. I think this would be the last time we see Australia as well. Chris, again, is it just a matter of Australia turns up and Australia wins?
Yeah, everyone seems really confident on Australia. Even Paddy Power have paid out anti-post bets on Australia already. Which I think just shows how confident that they are that Australia's going to win. I just think that he turns up and he wins. He's beat nearly everything apart from Alcazim in the race, and Alcazim giving weight £7 to everything in the race. He's going to need to find a lot based on last year's form. This year's form. And Australia turns up, and I think even if he runs sort of 90% to what he ran in the Jugemont, then he'll win quite easily.
Yeah, I've got this down as Australia's sublime goodbye. He leaves us with a big lasting memory and then goes off to stud. Michael, more the same from you, I imagine.
Yeah, I can't really say anything more to add. There's nothing really that he hasn't beaten before, and Al Kazim is not the same horse this year. And Australia, I completely agree with Callum. He's not an absolute superstar. He's a very good horse, but there's no absolute superstars in this race, and he should be winning this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now it's question time for everyone. As I mentioned earlier on the show, we're not doing the individual tweets to our separate accounts anymore. You have to tweet at On The Other Hoof. That's our new Twitter page that we set up tonight, and everyone seems to have got following that, so thank you very much. A few tweets in though. Tony Amato says, can you back Kingston Hill on this ground when they've been pulling him out all season? I think, Callum, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah, I think he runs on good to firm ground. He just doesn't want it rattling fast. But yeah. I mean, his best performance on figures and time form figures is on good to firm ground. So I think he'll still run on it. I just have a worry about the trip.
Luke?
Clock seems to have plenty. Huh?
You're just very slow again.
That's fine. I'm always slow in fairness. So, Tony Marto fancies Jargon in the 5 o'clock. Seemed to have plenty in hand last time. Good luck with that. Adam Webb has sent in his nap, so we'll read it out in a bit. Kai Will says he can't believe he missed Adam's winning nap last week, and I wouldn't be too disheartened about that. I don't think anyone really expected it to win after Adam tips it. Jason Heffron's agreed with Michael to an extent and gone with Hartnell for the Ledger. Targeted for this, I think everything will be targeted at this race, in fairness, Jason. It'll be a guaranteed stayer, I can't take that away, and he's gone for Digianta in the 440 at Leopardstown as well. Bill Dinsdale's going to lay Bethmere, because we're all going for it, which is probably not a bad thing to go by. Adam Webb, also going for King's Fate. I think me and Adam were the original connoisseurs of the King's Fate fan club, weren't we?
Probably.
I just did, because I didn't want to be openly King's Fate.
You're making that into something it's not. Apparently the Kingston Hill fanboys, which is Anthony Sherratt and Wabia, they won't shut up about Kingston Hill, which is unfortunate, Adam, but it's your fault for hanging out with him. Phil Dinsdale's not going to be having a bet on the St. Ledger. There's too many questions to ask. I agree, and there's too many questions, but it's also a wide open ledger. It's probably the most wide open that we're going to get for quite a while. But if you're going with what we're saying, and King's Fate seems to be an absolute good thing. Tony Marto is completely against King's Fate, saying he won't settle. He's an absolute nut. He's got bags of talent, but he won't get home. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't really got any qualms about him staying the trip.
No, I think he'll stay if he settles. Got home pretty well enough over 1 mile 6 last time, didn't he, at Goodwood? And I'm sure he'll stay on better if he settles. That's the key.
Yeah, and that was with frantic pulling as well early on that he still stayed. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't stay in the mile 6 tomorrow. So I don't know. That's not really a worry for me, if I'm honest, Tony. But I agree, he is a bit of a nutcase. Yeah, you can't deny that. Phil Dinsdale, he's backing Free Eagle tomorrow. He said, even money, back all day, which you're a braver man than I feel. Right, so we need some naps now, guys. And last week, Callum didn't come in.
I would have glossed over one that you also got from Philip Dinsdale, which I thought was very good. When you were talking about me and Chris looking alike, his response was, you both look better than Luke on a horse, which I could agree with completely. Had an absolute massive fashion casualty earlier this week when he thought it was acceptable to actually own a pair of purple joggers and not only put it online and then tuck them into his trainers. I mean, I'm sorry if at least we haven't got a fashion line and On The Other Hoof fashion line, because Luke would never be in charge of that. A few other questions as well from the Dilster, slightly off topic for Ledger Day, but can you give me your thoughts on Cursory Glance and the Moyglare on Sunday? Anybody got any opinions on that one?
Malabar's in that as well. I really like Malabar. So, but yeah, the form of the Lauder I think is really strong. So, it's a cracking race.
Yeah, no, that's really
putting the work in, Darren P. Goodbody. Whoa, that's a big name. Many seem to think Derby form is the best on offer, but thought Hartnell's win in the Bahrain was strong form. I completely agree with you. And also Sean wanted to know about, this is private Sean by the way, he hasn't upgraded to a higher regiment in the army yet. Who do you think will win the Arc Trials in France this coming Sunday? On Sunday, that card really is very good. We obviously got Trev and plenty others in the Arc Trials. Anybody got a specific horse they want to mention?
Pomology.
Against Trev?
Yeah, really hope Pomology wins. Just because I'd love to see her go for the Arc. And I really hope that she does go.
What price is Pomology for the Arc? Do we know?
I don't even think that she's been priced up. When I was having a look, I couldn't find her. She's 5-1, I think, for Sunday, roughly. To beat Trev. I think Trev's around evens, but I've not really had a look at Sunday's card yet at all.
Neither have I. She's done nothing wrong, has she, Pomology? And she keeps winning. And the race is, I don't think, the best at the moment. If that came up soft as well on Arc Day, and she acquitted herself well tomorrow, then she's in with a chance in the race, I think.
I think that's all we've got. Just a simple fact: if you're looking at the pre-foy, if you've got either Flincher, Ruler of the World, Spirit Jim, or King's Barnes, or Au revoir, any of those guys, the pre-foy has only produced one winner in the last 20 years that went on to win the Arc. So that's not exactly one of the best ones. The pre-Neil, in comparison, has produced 10 winners, and the Vermeil, I think, has produced 3, including obviously last year's winner. I think the horse that could be a horse to back is Hijinks tomorrow. I think his trainers found a really weak Group 3 there over about his right distance. I've never been a Hijinks fan, but that is a really weak Group 3, and he should be able to win that. I think that's on later in the card. I think it's the Gladiator. But yeah, the Sunday's cards are pretty much just as good as Saturday's.
Yeah, it's a really good weekend of racing on the European and international front, really, isn't it? Just in my defence about riding the horse, okay? First time riding a horse since I was about 4, and I wasn't told I was going to be riding. I was woken up, got out of bed, and I'm going to go ride a horse now. I haven't got anything, so I ended up riding in jogging bottoms, bright orange trainers, and socks that were bright red. I can't say it was my proudest moment, no. But hopefully one that will be my proudest moment is my nap today. Callum, your nap for Saturday's racing?
I haven't really got a strong fancy tomorrow, but because we haven't really talked about the race, it's not on Channel 4, there's a really good handicap at Doncaster after, I think, the race after they go off for Channel 4, and a horse that follows in it called I'm from Govan, going up in trip for the first time to 12 furlongs, 1/11. On all his starts over 11 he's won, so I think he's really unexposed in general. Good handicap, but I think he can win tomorrow.
Is that your nap as well? Or?
Yeah, I'll nap him, yeah. I've not really got a strong fancy, so 8-9-1, I'll nap it.
I was half expecting you to say Muthmere, but...
Yeah, Muthmere's the strongest fancy tomorrow, though.
Fair enough. Chris, your fancy for tomorrow. And last time you were here, I believe you napped a 1-2 shot and it won. So none of that, please.
Yeah, I napped first before I found out what the price was, and then found out it was 2-1 on. But yeah, a winner's a winner, as I always say. But no, I've gone for Esticar tomorrow. I'm just really keen on him, and I think that if he's going to be going for the Guineas and Racing Post Trophy, that he really needs to win this really easily. And yeah, he's sort of the one that I've had a big lump on tomorrow.
Fair enough, I can't say fairer than that. Michael, you've napped at 1-6 before, so you can't really say anything better.
Yeah. I was just about to say Eshikar is a slight improvement than 1-2, but it's still quite a short price. There's not really anything that really stands out tomorrow. I think everything has to come together for it to be a good day betting wise. There's no real short horses apart from Eshikar and perhaps John F. Kennedy, if you actually like that horse. I'll go to Chester for the 220, and I do think top of the class, about 4-1, is top of the class. And we seem to have lost our host, Luke, so I'm going to have to say goodbye to everybody. Yeah, I think that is all that we've got to we've got together. Oh, we also have a Naughty Lucky 15, which obviously covers aces in the first race at Doncaster. Then later on, we've got That Is the Spirit, which has an awesome acronym. Love Island in the handicap. And in the closer, Your Arse is on Fire, which may be a slight pronunciation error from me. But we've also had some pretty good, funny names earlier on this week, including Mick Fitz, who accidentally made a mistake with Jagar earlier today, in fact. Yeah, there's been some pretty funny names all week. Is Luke back to say goodbye, or will I have to do
I'm back.
Honors?
I'm back. I just had to go and wash up my teacup. So just finishing off that tea, basically. For my nap, I'm going to Bath in the 250. A horse that I tipped last week on my blog, a horse called Marmalady, who very, very narrowly got beat. It's gone up £6 for that, but Hector Crouch is a very promising amateur jockey, is taking 7 off, so effectively 1 lower than finishing second to Alga Lad. That they them two put a lot of distance between themselves and the field. This is a weaker race than that, and is absolutely fine. The course is no problem. She's won it before. I think 11-4 is an absolutely massive price about Marmalady. I consider her to be an absolute good thing tomorrow. I'd be mortified if she got beat, in fairness. So Marmalady for me, for Gary Crouch. That pretty much sums up today's show, doesn't it?
Yep.
I think so.
Do not forget to follow us at On The Other Hoof on Twitter. And Michael, you ready?
I am indeed. I'm always ready. In fact, I've had to actually fill in for you a lot, Luke, today. So I don't think you should be rude. I've been quite a good co-host.
Okay, then Michael, you can do the goodbye then. I'll let you do the goodbye.
Oh yeah, wicked. Right, thanks very much for watching On The Other Hoof. Don't forget to subscribe, because I don't forget about that, unlike Luke. And we do videos around about 8 o'clock. We normally wait until 8:15. Sorry if you are a bit ninja on the time, but we're really lazy. We're normally dancing or singing along to some kind of tune that I put on before 8 o'clock. I probably shouldn't have told you that. But thanks very much for watching, and see you again next week. Bye!